Have you ever just stopped and wondered how we got from a single tiny microbe to the millions and millions of species we see today? From giant blue whales to the tiniest hummingbirds? Well, that incredible story is called evolution. And today, we're going to dive into how life itself gets so creative. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it, right? From the smallest little bacterium to the biggest tree, every single living thing on this planet shares a common ancestor from billions of years ago. So the big question is, how did one ancient life form branch out into the spectacular variety we see all around us? Well, that is the story of evolution.
All right, so first things first, let's make sure we're all on the same page about what we actually mean when we say evolution. What's the big idea here?
At its heart, evolution is really just the process of change in all forms of life over many, many generations. The famous naturalist Charles Darwin had a great phrase for it: descent with modification. And that's just a fancy way of saying that new species are simply the modified descendants of older species.
And you really can't overstate how central this idea is. The biologist Theodosius Dobzhansky put it perfectly. Nothing in biology makes sense except in the light of evolution. It's the master key, the framework that connects literally everything we know about the living world. So, how do we know this happened? Well, one of the most powerful pieces of evidence is the fossil record. It's like having a photo album of life's history. And when we look at these fossils, we see that the further back in time we go, the more different life looks. These are actual, tangible proof that life on our planet has changed, and changed dramatically over time.
Okay, so we've got the what. Life changes over time. But now for the really cool part, the how. How does this actually work? What's the mechanism, the engine that's driving all of this incredible transformation?
Well, that engine is a process called natural selection. And it's this brilliant and, honestly, surprisingly simple idea that explains how life adapts and evolves. So let's break down exactly how it works. It all boils down to about 4 steps. First off, you've got variation. Just look around. No two individuals are exactly alike. Then there's overproduction. Most organisms have way more offspring than can possibly survive. And that, of course, leads to competition for food, for space, for everything. And finally, the most important step, survival and reproduction. Individuals that happen to have traits giving them a little edge, maybe they're a bit faster or have better camouflage, are more likely to survive, have kids, and pass on those winning traits. And over generations, the whole population starts to shift. Now, this brings up a really crucial point, one that a lot of people get mixed up. An individual doesn't evolve. A giraffe can't just stretch its neck longer in its lifetime because it wants to. That's not how it works. Instead, the entire population evolves. A trait that helps one generation becomes a little more common in the next, and then the next, and after thousands of generations, the whole group has been transformed. It's change across the group, not within a single life. Okay, so populations can change. Got it. But how do we get from a population that's just a little bit different to a completely new species? This is where the real magic happens, the process that creates all the amazing diversity we see. This process has a name, and it's called speciation. It's the moment life's family tree sprouts a brand new branch. You can think of it as the ultimate outcome of that descent with modification we talked about. If you want a perfect example of this, just look at dogs. Every single breed, from a giant Great Dane to a tiny Chihuahua, all of them, they all came from one common ancestor, the gray wolf. Now, this happened through artificial selection. That's where we humans stepped in and chose which traits to pass on. It's like evolution on fast forward, and it's a powerful look at how one ancestral group can branch out into so many different forms. So the splitting, it basically happens in 2 main ways. You can picture it like a road. In what we call anagenesis, the whole road just slowly changes over time, say from a dirt path into a paved street. The old road is gone, replaced by the new one. But the real biodiversity explosion, that comes from cladogenesis. This is when the road forks, splitting into 2 or more new paths. This branching is how we get the incredible number of species on Earth. So, wait a minute. If natural selection is all about survival, why doesn't everything just end up looking the same? Shouldn't there be one perfect design? Well, that brings us to some of the most fascinating patterns evolution creates. This is what I like to call the wow factor. First up, you've got divergent evolution. This is what happens when related groups adapt to different lifestyles and, over time, become more and more different from each other. Think about the red fox, which is perfectly suited for forests, and its close relative, the kit fox, which is built for the desert.
They share a common ancestor, but they took very different paths.
And sometimes this whole branching process gets put on hyperdrive. We call this adaptive radiation. It's what happens when one species finds a new place that's just full of opportunities. We call them niches. And it just explodes into a whole bunch of new species to fill every available role.
The classic example of this is it's amazing. It's the Hawaiian honeycreepers. Scientists figured out that all 23 of these unique species, each with a beak perfectly shaped for a different food source, they all evolved from a single ancestral species that first made it to the islands. It is a stunning, beautiful showcase of life's creativity.
Okay, but this next one, this is where things get really mind-bending. It's called convergent evolution. This is when two completely unrelated species end up looking almost identical, all because they had to solve the same problem in similar environments. It's like nature coming up with the same brilliant idea twice, completely independently.
Just take a look at these two plants. On the left, that's a euphorbia from Africa. On the right, a cactus from the Americas. They're not closely related at all. They grew up on opposite sides of the world. But because they both had to figure out how to survive in a harsh desert, they came up with the exact same game plan: thick, water-storing stems and sharp spines for protection. Different ancestors, same solution. Incredible.
So, after seeing all these incredible patterns, you gotta ask, why does this matter? What's the big takeaway from this whole story of evolution? Well, the big takeaway is that evolution is the thread that ties all of biology together. It's the reason the fossil record tells a coherent story. It explains why you have things in common with a chimpanzee, but also why you're so different. It tells us why a bird has wings to fly and a fish has gills to breathe. And maybe the most profound thing of all, it explains why your DNA is written in the exact same language as the DNA of a mushroom or an oak tree or a blue whale. We're all connected.
And here's the real kicker. Evolution isn't just something that happened millions of years ago. It's not over. It's a continuous process that's happening right now in every living thing on this planet, including us. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to chew on, doesn't it? As our world keeps changing, what pressures are shaping our own species' future? What is humanity evolving into next?